Happy Sunday, everyone. It is Sunday, October 14th, and we are on day 14 of 31 projects in 31 days. I apologize that yesterday's video has not posted yet. We were actually traveling yesterday. We went to Kansas City to take our son to a camp reunion that he did. He went to summer camp and they had a little reunion there, and of course he's 16 and we weren't going to let him drive to Kansas City. And I thought that I would have time. Actually, I filmed the video on Friday. I tried twice to load it Friday night. It would not load. And during the night it told me failure. So then Saturday morning I tried again and it did not finish until we were in the car on the way to Kansas City. So I have to upload it to Facebook. And it's easier for me to do that with on my laptop. And I have not had my laptop on in 2 days. We were out of town and we were enjoying our weekend. So I will get that loaded tonight after I load this one, so you'll be able to see both videos. Tonight, and we were traveling this afternoon. That's why I'm live at 8 o'clock at night, and I look like this. I'm combed my hair this morning, and I've changed clothes twice. So as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to put on my pajamas. So anyway, I am going to use, last week I showed you the Winter Flora Designer Series paper and how I thought, it's okay, it's not my favorite, and how beautiful it is. So I'm using it again for the second time during the week. I'm going to do kind of a really simple, fun fold with it. I've done this in classes before, and it's a great use of the Designer Series paper, and I'll show you that in a second. And then I'm going to pair it with something fancy stamp set that is just an all-occasion stamp set, because I didn't want to make a Christmas card today. So let's get going and make our card. Alright, so last week, I have my other card here. Last week we used the purple shades, and we made a speedy recovery, and that was based on a card that a friend of mine had made. And so tonight I'm going to make a sympathy card, the same set of papers, the Regal winter paper, and I'm going to make a sympathy card. And I'm also using the Christmas labels dies, and I'll show you that those are good for multiple stamps. And actually I was a minute or so late getting started, because I was trying to find the right word that would fit on the die that I die cut. So this card is a thick white base, and I chose the thick white instead of a color because it was already pretty dark. I didn't want it to be too dark, so I'm going to let the Designer Series paper talk instead of having multiple colors of cardstock as well. Hi Monica, thanks for joining me. It's a different time of day, so I'm glad you were able to join me. All right, so I have my thick white card base. It's just a quarter sheet, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I'm going to use one of the back sides. This is actually the paper that I used last week. I'm going to use the back side of it, and it's the pretty peacock piece, and I'm going to just put that on that panel to make the back of the card. This is it's a fun fold, but it's a pretty easy one. And it uses your paper nicely. Okay. So I've got that back piece. You could also use an embossing folder if you wanted to do 2 colors of cardstock. You could do this as an embossing folder, which would also work quite nicely. Then I have 3 1/4 by 8 1/2, and that's scored in the middle, just to make that fun fold in the middle. So I've got that ready. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my Designer Series paper on here. And that's just a 3 by 4 piece. So you could actually get multiple cards, many cards actually, 3 by 4. Is that 16? Let's see, 12 pieces. You can get 12 pieces from a 12 by 12 piece of paper. Especially if you used an embossing folder on a piece of cardstock, then you would you get so many cards out of your Designer Series paper. Okay, so we have that piece. Super simple. Now I'm just going to glue this onto the card. Make sure that you use a strong adhesive for this, because this is the part they're going to open. So make sure that that top piece is done well and down the sides, just so when it gets opened and shut that it doesn't come apart. That's the last thing you want, is for your cards to come apart when somebody opens them. We're going to just put that right on the front. So it looks like a panel. Looks like we have our panel, but it actually opens. So then that's the part where you would write. So the base is not a foldy, it's just a flat. And then you'll write on the inside. If you did a colored piece of cardstock here instead of the white, you would probably want to do another 3x4 piece of white so that you could write on it on the inside. So you would just attach that here if you had colored cardstock that was hard to read when you wrote on it. All right, I have used the Christmas Labels dies. Let me show you those really quick. We've used those before last week, but let me show you those again really quick. And you can use, this is the one that I'm using. Looks like this. And then there's a couple that are a little bit angled, but these two right here, the two bigger ones are a little more specific to the stamp set that matches. But these two are just open in the middle. Hopefully you can see those. They're just open. So you could use those for any sentiment. So I'm not making a Christmas card today. I'm doing sympathy just because that's kind of what I need. So I went looking for the stamp set that would work for that. And so I'm using something fancy, and I'm just gonna do with deepest sympathy right there on my Christmas label. The one thing that I've noticed about these, sorry there was a glare on my stamp set. The one thing that I've noticed about these particular dies, when you do this die on regular white or regular vanilla, it's a little bit difficult to get it out of that die because there's these slots that are on the ends and the top. I find that it comes out easier from the die if you use thick white or thick vanilla, and that's just a little tip that has helped me get those out a little easier. We're actually using these for one of our projects for our retreat next week, or one of these dies, and when we had them cut, we did thick instead of the regular, just because it's easier to get them out. So I'm going to stamp my words, and of course I can't see when I sit down, so ta-da, with deepest sympathy. I stamped that in the pretty peacock, one of the Regal colors that I'm using. Hi Pam, glad you could join me. I'm almost done, so if you can hang on for 2 more minutes, you can go to bed just a little bit late. All right, so I've got my words, and then I'm just going to we used the Blackberry Bliss ribbon on the other card, and remember we figured out that the ribbon, all 3 colors of the current, or 3 of the current colors of ribbon match. So I'm just going to wrap this a little bit. This is the cherry cobbler with gold. Trim the edge. You could also use white. I don't think it's too close to Christmas, but I just think it's nice, rich colors that I think are very pretty. And then we'll tape that on the back. And then we'll use dimensionals, and we will pop that up. You could wrap your ribbon around, you could put some extra gems on, but I think that little, I don't want it to be too blingy since it is a sympathy card. All right, got my dimensionals. I did 3 of the small ones right on the back. I'm just gonna put that on there. Well, I think I'll go center. And then trim my tails. And there you have it. A nice sympathy card that's actually using Winter Flora Designer Series paper. So, thank you for joining me at such a weird time. I don't normally do evenings, and I definitely, Sunday evenings are hard, but since it's almost the beginning of the week. So I hope that you all had a great weekend. Some of you may be off tomorrow for Columbus Day, If you are, have a great day off. If you're not, have a great Monday at work, and hopefully you can join me at 2 o'clock tomorrow for tomorrow's card. Thanks for joining me. Have a good night.